morning, Tuesday afternoon, early Wednesday. It depends on where you are in the world. You know, taking this all on, just coming through and just got, it's been a real heavy 24 hours. I mean, let's just cut to the chase. I mean, with Malcolm Jamal Warner, um, you know, um, just gonna get to it. It's a pretty self-explanatory question, so I'm not gonna get into a lot of fanfare about it. Just ask if you were a fan of Malcolm Jamal Warner. Um, I like the brother a lot. Obviously with Theo, I watched his various TV shows, watched a couple of his films, listened to his music. His spoken word was cool. On bass, he was doing his thing. Um, he tried something. And I like what he was about as a brother more than anything, to be honest with you. Um, you know, um, I think that, you know, how do I say this about him? He was quite profound for what he's putting out. I might say that his character was probably even bigger than his career, to be honest with you, because I thought he really represented. He took the high road, but he was smart that he went into another, found another way to uh, sustain what he was doing. If you have a big hit show as a kid, you can go crazy, money, all the perks with all of that. But when he did Malcolm and Eddie, he went through a whole different type of. Even though he said it was one of the formidable worst years, he still got that show in the syndication. But aside his differences with Eddie Griffin, he did some movies. He did whatever it took. He was a versatile cat. Even won a Grammy for spoken word. Uh, he just did whatever he had to do. So now you gotta appreciate his hustle and his game and his mother in the foundation. Because it'd have been easy just to roll over in that Cosby life and that'd have been it. But he didn't rest on his laurels. And he arguably had the best post career from being on Social with Cosby Show. Arguably. As far as the kids go, you could say. And you know, he was doing things. He was always in the successful shows and he expanded his horizons. So I thought that but the respect and the love and outpouring of him shows you he was a real one. I give Willie D props and a shot on that. That guy was one of the realest people in Hollywood, especially in the land of make believe and the fakery. He was a real one, because a lot of that was acting that goes on in Hollywood. And you be a child actor. You see how the entertainers, a lot of people turn out. So he was very grounded. So it was very sad. It was a jolt. Wasn't expecting that. Didn't see that coming. I was doing a set, talking about it. I had just finished working on a video that I got coming out tomorrow, and that came through. And I thought, wait a minute, this ain't April Fool's Day. This was like hokey. So, uh, you know, so there's stuff that I'm going to talk about, and that was one of them that. But yeah, well, what's happening? What's happening, Monsieur? What's happening? What's happening? JL, what's happening? How you doing? Good to see you, Senor. Welcome aboard. Appreciate that. When anybody come from different places, got something to say, welcome aboard. Glad to have you. Thank you for the click on it. I think that, when we talk about eras and we talk about folks, we just got moments where we take moment to reflect because sometimes it gets taken for granted. And you just think that you just gonna have that bubble and that you just gonna be able to do what you want to do and that it's eternal. And it's not how life goes. It's snap of an eye, So it's important that you tell people that you care about them and anybody out there, you just never know. Never know what the destiny lays ahead, what's around the corners. It's important to always keep people at the highest of highest. We don't know nothing. We just have to, we're the unknown. So, but anyway, so, but yeah, this was a really big whammy. So there's no other way to describe it, you know. So that's kind of how I look at it. So we're gonna be here for a while today. I'm gonna see how everybody comes through. So if I get any, people coming through, I'll be on for at least an hour. If not, I'll just do a half. We'll see. Just starting out the day, working on different projects. Got some stuff going along. So, you know, I think that we're going to, it's a lot of stuff to take into consideration. So, what's happening? Yeah, it is good to see you too. And if you talk, I'll be on for at least an hour. If you give me nonstop, you got access to me because there's no one else here today. So feel free to holler. I'm sure you got a lot of questions, a lot of stuff. So feel free. Sure, we got stuff to catch up on. I saw Shannon Sharp was saying something about Michael Parsons, but he was questioning Jerry Jones, but yeah, I'm gonna talk. I did a video about that. The T Mac thing. I'm gonna talk about the Curry thing. That one's coming up. I'm gonna have that one out tomorrow. Um, the only thing that he said, the Curry thing is interesting. I'm gonna address that one. The T Mac thing, I'll say this in Shaq's defense. As a Shaq fan, I'll say this. I'll give him getting a ring with anybody. When he was in his peak in his prime, heck yeah. Because Kobe wasn't that Kobe in 2000. So I will give him that. I think Shaq with the right with when he was there, yeah, I'll give him that. But when you start talking about 3 rings, I mean, I think he could have been if they were healthy in '04, him and D Wade could have back to back because they were in back to back Eastern Conference Finals. So I he could with the right type of talent. He was strong enough. He's one of the few players that I can say that when he was in his peak of his prime, he ain't far fetched to say that if you play with me, we could win rings. I'll give him that. That's why I have him top 5 that's why I have him where I have him. But when you start talking about 3 rings, that's another story. Yeah, of course she loves him. But the problem that he loves is he loves the broke versions, the ones that the OnlyFans, and they clown him. No, he ain't hurting his legacy. He doing what all the cats do who quit. They always think that what's after them sucks, and they be there to tell you, and they see how watered the game is down, and they do what everyone else does. He's not doing anything different than what Will Chamberlain did. He's not doing anything different what Kareem did. He ain't doing nothing different than what I think Bill Russell, for the most part, didn't. But Bill Russell, I remember there was back in the '80s, Brett Musburger had Russell as a commentator, and he said, "Ain't Larry Bird the greatest player ever?" And he does because he came out and played Dr. J in that one-on-one when Dr. J wanted to brag against him. And he said that my stats speak for themselves when they talk about him and Jordan. He's come out and said he doesn't say it like as strong as Shaq, but he has come out and has said things low key. Oh, I heard from him. It's not a lot, but uh, guys come out all the time and talk about what they could do today. So it's not. It's fair game. They talk all the time. They observe. They watch. And the ones that ain't saying it is lying. I think it's because culture keeps throwing stuff because I think he's defending Kobe in one part because they keep pushing LeBron narrative and they push this a narrative, you know. And he's really the last person that had him. He was the. I'm gonna say this to you in case you don't know. All right, Tedrick, Tedrick. Let me get to you just one second. I'm gonna address Jay Will real quick. He was the most successful big man ever. The one that had the most. I'm not saying more rings with Russ, but I'm talking the most successful where he crossed over. And so he took on a mantle that's one of the reasons why he don't have no problem with it. He crossed over unlike the others. You could look it up. Kareem had movies, Wilt was known and Russell, but they were some three scary brothers. Shaq was scary, but he crossed over. Don't ask why. He just did. Penny Hardaway, TW. Yeah, I saw that. I laughed. That's what Shannon Sharp gets too. You quit too. Um, you can't possibly get a left armpit and get 5 million. I'm sorry. Penny was one of those guys, woulda, coulda, shoulda. Had he been healthy, had everything been right, he was bad. Quick first step, you know. I'm for real. I show an armpit. I can't. She got more money by throwing. Scared Shannon enough. I mean, and that's the problem he gonna run into. Penny was a bad dude. Penny was bad. I mean, they had a Muppet. I mean, Chris Rock and him. Penny, because D Rose couldn't really shoot, and D Rose wasn't the offensive magnetic that Penny was. I know you can say the Shaq factor. D Rose had overall weaponry with Luol Deng. He had later Boozer. He had Jim Butler was a puppy at the time. And they didn't really go after what he's supposed to. Um, I like Brandon Roy a lot, but I gotta say Penny though. I like Brandon Roy a lot though. I like D Rose all right too. Because D Rose was something else for a moment, but Penny was a dude that you could see coming. I mean, Penny was coming. Penny's one of those guys that when you mention those other two, let me put it to you like this. If everybody's all healthy and whatnot, Penny's a top 50 player. I can't say D Rose would be like Borderland and Brandon Roy, maybe. But Penny, because he was, think about it, they traded him for C Webb. And though Weber got to play, he didn't. I mean, if they both played at their best levels, I think Penny would have had a better career. I'm just saying. Penny moved me more. Penny moved me more. But anyway, that's all I'm gonna say. It's a good question though. Yeah, you quit OnlyFans too. You're gonna get more money. That's sad. Because Penny was mature. Ask me whose maturation was on point. I saw the Drink Champs episode. I watched Drink Champs. Most of the time, I don't like it because I like the R&B one with um, uh, Mario. Mario's Drunk Champs with the R&B one was my favorite. Most of the time, them cats be lying and capping, and they be East bias, and they don't. And then it's limited to where they come from and what their style of music is. So that's why I don't like it. I like the Mario with the R&B one was good. That's probably my favorite one. But I saw the Shaq one. Um, you're looking at totality, but if we go by their windows and what they saw, Penny and Shaq got to the finals their third year in '96. They were in the Eastern Conference Finals. They got swept in '96, went to the finals in '95. That was a lot further along. It took Kobe to muscle up, and Kobe got caught flat-footed. Kobe was on that hype in '96, '97, '98 when he got embarrassed with being flat-armed in those 3-ball air balls. He got to work on this thing. Penny came from school, so of course Penny had a little bit of an advantage. If you use that logic, and if Penny's healthy, who knows? So I can understand why he said it. Structure and discipline, yeah, because it put him in structure because he didn't have a coach in OKC. Most great players tend to need a structural coach. Again, structural and discipline. That triangle offense was unstoppable. And if you utilize your potential with it, you get more touches, you're more effective. But the other thing about it with Phil Jackson and Tex Winter is this. Um, well, the Pat Riley thing was structural, but again, Shaq had to come in a different shape too. He had to play. Came back in a different mindset playing in Miami. It was different when he was in LA. He bulked up in LA. He was a little bit in between in Miami. You know, his body type was different. Still was flexible, but it was requirement for different tasks. It's a different system. Field system relies on a lot of, it's movement with and without the ball, but it's also the way stuff slows the game down. Riley got more of a different pace. No, because Spoelstra was a good coach, and Tyronn Lue did a good job. I can tell you that he had two legit coaches. And Mike Brown's style wasn't wrong. They got to the finals. Yeah, no. He didn't he ran out. Frank Vogel had defense. If you remember the bubble, which was stupid that they let all those guys go because they had the size that they were stockpiling. He actually had Russell coming off the bench. So actually Frank Vogel was legit. Darvin Ham got a lot out of that team with the bench. David Blatt could actually coach. David Blatt would have been like a broke version of Mike D'Antoni, but that system with that speed and allowed you to move around. It allowed a lot of movement. That's why Kyrie thrived, if you notice. David Blatt wasn't no scrub. I've seen worse coaches. And we'll never know how good he could have been if he didn't coach Cleveland. So it's fashionable to clown him now, but he's not the worst coach LeBron had. You can make a case with Luke Walton, and you can make a case with there's a couple in between. David Blatt's system was actually a mobile. They just couldn't play no defense, and they had to trade parts. I know you want to act like LeBron is the second coming of Bill Russell. He ain't. Because if he was, he'd have a better finals record. So laugh on that, you know. And I know where this is going. So we're gonna see this. Yes, thank you, Charlene. Good to see you. So when I got through talking, how you doing? When I got through talking yesterday, I got that video. I was working, and that thing hit me like a ton of bricks. I was just finished the video I was working on, which is coming out tomorrow. Yeah, Costa Rica, and I was just like devastated. I mean, that thing hit me uh, very sad for me. Very sad. Very sad. Um, I can't even begin to talk about it really because it really hit hard. It was one of those situations where it just hit hard. Um, well, he was like swimming. That's what it was. Yeah, he was one of the few cats that I would say that wasn't fake. And in that industry, he was a good natured cat. And the more importantly, he took Bill Cosby's character from TV and utilized it in his real because he was hardworking, dependable, and gave back to the community. He spoke out on a lot of different topics. He had a podcast. He was very opinionated about, spoke out about the industry and a lot of things that he saw. And he didn't want to be boxed in with that. And he, had a second career post Cosby. So he kept himself together a certain way. So I just thought he was a good dude, and he's one of the few that wasn't faking the funk. Because most of that stuff in Hollywood is fake, and he was, a good cat. Just in general life, if you walk up down the street, you don't find too many people that you go, "Oh, they're a good natured person." You can actually say the guy was a good natured cat. So that was pretty devastating to say the least. And I just so pretty much. It's one of those things. So it hit me up pretty hard. Let's just say that you know, when you send somebody that, because I watched the show forever and a day, and I used to see him on different things. So, but yeah, it really hit me hard. It really did. I'm not gonna even fake the funk. It really did. I had to take a walk and just kind of like let that thing kind of go through my you know. Oh yeah, devastation. His family was actually there, and there's video on TMZ where he was there. His wife, his daughter. Bill Cosby. I was watching Bill Cosby did a phone interview. So it was, you know, he was a genuine dude. I seen a lot of people giving tributes to him. He was a genuine dude. You know, and you don't find that a lot of times people be up here liking somebody. It's because they got to kiss up to him for business sake. He was generally a light cat. So you know, SGA, Jokic, Giannis, and Wimby. That's how I got to do it. SGA gonna be number one. I think what he's done is he didn't move to number one with me. You really can't teach what he's doing because he really got that team in sync. You know, he takes on a head-to-head battle. You give him different looks. I think it's impressive. I just think that he's really that impressive. Jokic second because of the way he plays and his impact on the game. But him and Giannis, you can say interchangeable because if this pattern of getting knocked out in the second round, it's a problem. Wimby's problem is he got to have the structure. I don't know if he's gonna get popped, and I don't think he's got anybody on that team that can challenge him. They always pass the baton from Dave Robinson to Duncan to Parker to Ginobili to Kawhi Leonard. They don't have that now. They just another run of real team. So I don't know if they can get the right talent. He's got to stay healthy and he's got to be, he's got tools, but is De'Aaron Fox the answer? I don't know. Oh yeah, SGA is. I mean, if the guy has another 2 years of 30-point average and the assists and rebounds and is a threat, you got to start looking at him in a special category. You just do. You just do. Because that's not by accident what he's doing. And I don't hear people talk about, oh, he gets all the calls. No, he draws attention, but he can actually play. And I'm gonna tell you like this: if he can develop Chad Holmgren before Jokic can get Jamal Murray on the same page, then it puts it academic. Giannis doesn't have anyone like that. So, but Giannis and Jokic are kind of interchangeable with me because Giannis has to do so much. They got to get the right piece to complement what they got. But if SGA can get Chad Holmgren, no, he got him a token ring now. You get him in a couple years where he be really bulked up and doing this thing. Oh, watch out. Yeah, I read some about that. For a window, he was, but his postseason career sucked. I would have made the case if the Chargers hadn't underachieved and didn't choke, and it looked so flat against the Patriots, and he didn't have bad postseason games. The game when he was looking like Darth Vader, he had two bad postseasons against the Patriots. He had the one where the Patriots beat them in New England. The second one in New England where he just had the Darth Vader on, he didn't do nothing. I think that's what hurts him. I think that's what hurts him. Because I do believe that he had a lot of upside, but that's what hurts him. AP was a great back. And I don't think there's really, excuse me, a right or wrong answer with that argument. Depends on what style you like better. You know, I think they both tight. I'll say this though, if AP doesn't get spanked by the commissioner, pun intended, I think he'll be higher. Yeah, they about in the same boat. Well, you remember something. You looking at the Lions in 2025 eyes. Go back to 95 and so on. He didn't really have a lot of opportunities. They did have a postseason game, but they sucked. They got to remember something. They've only been to what? One, two uh NFC championship games since 1957. What you're seeing the last 2 years with Dan Campbell's their coach, that ain't the norm in Detroit. That's not the norm. So he didn't have a lot to go with back then. They stunk. He had Charlie Batch as a quarterback. He had some quarterbacks back then, and most of them stunk. So what you're seeing now is an anomaly. But the Lions looking like, hey, he had this situation. Let me put it to you like this: he quit early, and Megatron quit early. They had not what they got. Stafford got lucky because he got traded to the Rams. They stunk. They stunk. Everybody beat the Cowboys. That ain't saying nothing in the playoffs. That ain't nothing. I remember that run. He, yeah, well, yeah, they clogged the line because the quarterback sucked. But yeah, he hit that little dink and dunk, and your linebacker was turned. Barry had the kind of Barry did the kind of stuff that only I seen O.J. Simpson, maybe Gale Sayers. They could juke you. Well, that's not the reason. Well, if you're using that because the Packers shut them, I mean, because he beat your Cowboys, and a lot of backs embarrassed your Cowboys when they stunk. But no, Peyton was the king of that playing with garbage quarterbacks, though, and having to do a whole lot. So I can understand it from that logic. They in my top five, though. Nothing has changed from my top five. I still got O.J. Simpson, Jim Brown, Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, and Gale Sayers. Those are my top five ever running backs. Except they didn't get to score a touchdown in that Super Bowl 40 years ago, which is still sad. But yeah, but he had more opportunities too. The Lions sucked, yo. See, what I try to tell people who didn't get to see it, they just now start. Gale Sayers, look him up. He was Chicago Bears in the 60s. That guy could dart. He's the youngest guy to be in the Hall of Fame. He did it all. Precursor to OJ too. Crazy speed, you know. Love Gale Sayers. My top five running backs has never changed. I don't think it's going to change. I don't. I don't foresee that changing. There's certain things that'll change. That one ain't going to change. OJ, what he did. No, this ain't OnlyFans. This is a face on YouTube. This ain't OnlyFans. You're on the wrong site. Please don't say nothing like that. You got to refrain from stuff like that because I am not trying to. I'm not trying to draw the wrong attention on here. People say anything nowadays. Okay, troll alert. I ain't got time for that today. I don't know why people come on think they gonna troll and not get rolled. So somebody actually wasn't feeling Malcolm Jamal's talent. He can't edge him. He can't. Barkley remind me. He's on the Eric Dickerson tip. He's on that pace. He's athletic. I give him that. But the problem that I see that he runs into is that Philly gonna have to win a couple more Super Bowls. I say he wins another one, then I can make him in my top 15, 12, 15. But will he have another year like he had this past year? Will injuries now? Because he's had a couple of situations. I do like Shaquan, but I got to see what he can do here on out. But if you don't know about Gale Sayers, you can't say about Gale because Gale Sayers playing a whole different era. And sometimes people are quick in the moment. It takes time to put up what Gale Sayers did. And you wouldn't want to say just edge, you'd want to say he was better. So I don't know, pay that no mind. They just mad because she's gotten some awards and she's, you know, they the fact that a black woman is in that scene. That's all that's about. It's got nothing else to do with nothing else. Plus, she's too considered too Hollywood. Well, country music isn't the way it used to be either. It's not like just all Billy Bob and bang down. It's more commercialized. They figure if they say enough negative stuff about her, that it'll deter her. He don't need that to make my top backs. I said what I said. And if you ain't seen him, you have to look him and see how he moved. But if you watch him, no, I pay respect. There's a difference. I'm a fan of different eras. And it was tougher back then for a back to be great. And that's something we can't even argue. That's like when we talk about the basketball and baseball today. You got a way more chance today to succeed than you did back then. That's not nostalgia. That's a fact. There's a difference. Because today they don't even have backs that play that long. Shaquan is one of the few. He gonna probably be one of the last that you see. Derrick Henry's got numbers, but he ain't gonna get. It's a different era. Different era. But the fact that someone would actually want to mention someone from a past, that should show you something. Who's over peak Errol Campbell? You talking about Gail Sayers? Earl is one of my 10 greatest backs ever. Problem with him is that they knocked off his career. Asking me about Earl Campbell against who? Who we putting Earl Campbell up against? Who we putting Earl Campbell up against? You want to give me a name because I need to know. I am waiting. I can say that Earl had a better peak, but I can't say he had a better career than Gail. Because Campbell did his damage with Houston. She's a black woman that won country album of the year. Tell her what it is. And it makes them mad. That's what it comes down to. It's got nothing to do with nothing else. And the truth is, they mad for stuff that they too ignorant to go read and understand. But that's just because entitlement. How do you entitled to a style of music? I want to know. If Eminem can win hip hop awards, why can't Beyonce win for country? I wasn't feeling a record, and I don't be feeling Eminem's records. But you know what? They got the awards. So what you gonna do about it? But you see, that shows you how racist it is. We are this time in this culture, and a black artist doing country project, and they still tripping. Black folks did discover the country music because all it is R&B. It was okay. No, 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 no. See, you're playing right into the stereotypes. He is white doing hip hop. There is no limits on what you can do. There's no what you can do. Music is music. Ray Charles did a straight up country album. It's nothing new. I don't know. Sometimes I gotta tell people blues and R&B are offshoots of country. As a matter of fact, if you understand music theory, all they do is the twang they play out of tune. Look in the old Chuck Berry records. That's your country music. Old Chuck Berry. If you took Good Golly Miss Molly by Little Richard and you took the Rockland piano that he plays and go, Good Golly Miss Molly, and you could make a country song out of it. You can do that. It's a term they put on it. So she had a couple okay tracks on it. I think she didn't put no steel guitar and pedals on some stuff, but that's not neither here nor there. They don't have no room to talk anymore. The chicks went pop. Marley Cyrus pop did it into Shania Twain and also Taylor Swift. So again, it's just something that they like to label to own. That's all. Her album was okay. I'm not big on Beyonce's albums. They overdrawn, overwrought, and they got too many tracks. But I applaud that she was trying something to try it, you know. But it wasn't like, but again, that's neither here nor there though. I already said that. I have to respectfully disagree because if Gavin Adcock did a hip hop based record and people felt it, I'm gonna argue with it. Right on time. Glad to have you. Thank you for that. What's happening? Because you can do whatever you want musically. And if the music was good enough and people felt it, then what how are we gonna argue? The powers that be would have want Andrew Luck, just so you know your question. That's a legit question. Carson Palmer was a decent quarterback. Culpepper did better than he didn't. He just didn't. He just kind of got his own self. Andrew Luck is the one they wanted though. They had they feet were wet for Andrew Luck. Don't get me started about Andrew Luck. They wanted Luck, so I'd say Luck because that game against Kansas City when they choked that game. I mean, he won that game, but he got that one game. He came back. Yeah, he won that game, but the Patriots, he was never the same the whole uh flat game. But he was more intriguing of the three. Culpepper probably would have been second, and Palmer would have been third. Okay, we starting to warm up now. Starting to see more poll votes. Keep them likes coming. Time is on here giving good words of advice as usual. Appreciate the brother. Thank you for coming through. Having a nice productive day. So that's all I'm gonna say about that. Music is music. They make it up what they want. Bottom line is if they put money behind anybody and they want the project to be a certain way, they'll push it. That's the bottom line. Little Nas X was supposed to be starting off a country pop thing, so Old Brick Road. So they put what they want, you know. So don't get caught up in all that politics. Ain't no controversy for me because you're supposed to be able to put specialize in different styles of music. Again, you got to stop thinking like the industry. They tell black artists all the time what they can't do. That's the problem. It's a racist industry. You talked about yesterday that you like my open minded. Well, this is where I open up that jar and I'm gonna call it out. Music is music. If you can play, you can play. You should be able to play anything. I appreciate you. What's happening, Arnell? I'm gonna address that time. Thank you so much. Well, we depend on what topic we on, but I'm not, going into what those cats do because I don't have a specially topic with anything. I just you should be able to. It's the industry that holds you back. He's doing as well as he can be. He's been back and forth. They should. I got no problem with that. That makes a good video. They should. They should get paid what they owe. It's a shame that they're getting treated like, especially when they want to push the whole agenda about Caitlin Clark, and they're not getting no money. You know. I agree with that. I agree with their sentiment. Gavin Adcock could beat them right now. What are Kendrick Lamar and Drake doing right now? That's not hip hop. That's just a diss track that's just trying to one off. That's just somebody that's paying some cats to basically really ping pong with each other. How is that in helping the cause? Yeah, somebody along came right now and did that and won, then they would get cat backs to rapping. They're not rapping right now. They're grandstanding. They're doing what the industry wants. They want to distract you from an actual project. So if he did, oh well. The awards are fake anyway, so well. No, they should get paid equal amount of money. Let me let you on a secret. When the NBA, NFL, MLB, all owners are in, right? Jerry Jones, you're a Cowboys fan. You know when he had to deal with Nike, they had to share the pot. So if you in, you pay the pot. You pay to get in. Everybody gets the cut. Why you think whack teams in NFL stay profitable? Why teams make money don't? Because they got to share the pot together. They all in the same brand of the situation. Why you think that when Donald Sterling sold the Clippers for 2 bills, do you think it's because the Clippers have been winning championships? Gotta understand how corporate works. They all in the bed together. That's how they buy it out. When Daniel Snyder sold Washington, he got because they ain't won nothing. Oh, they're making a profit. If you're talking about the WNBA, they're making profits. The streams, the Caitlin Clark, they're making money. They pour them off. They act like they if they ain't got no money, then how they got TV? Because there's no money in the fans being in the stands. They make their money off of these sponsors. They make their money off of the merch and the people that pay into it. Just like this streaming hustle that goes on. The artists might get chump change, but the companies are still making hand over fist. They license it and it's like you can put into different components and they have to say. If they didn't have no say about it, then it would have been what Napster would have been like. Then they would have been scared. They're not scared. They're making money. It's the artists and the people who are too dumb to still signing these bad 360 deals. Well, they on ESPN, right? If you're on a major network, that is a sponsor, which has what? Commercials. That's what pays the money. When they had to go in the bubble, they were representing the NBA. They're tied together. So business is business. It's like VH1 with MTV. It's a network, but it's all tied together. She's part of WNBA. They all bringing the money. They sell merch. They sell product. They don't care how well she plays. It's because it's about hype. It ain't about how well you play. It's about hype. If I can sell you on hype, we can manipulate whatever. People aren't going to really care. I agree about how bad she looked, but again, they're not caring about percentages. They're about the money just. And figure if she plays enough and they get enough out of the whole her and Andrew Reese and they can play the angle, they found someone to be a stool pigeon. So welcome to corporate world. This ain't even about how what success you have. It's about selling the product. She's a one trick pony, but it's already been the cat's out the bag. So what you gonna do about it? Let me see if I'm gonna answer a question that was asked. But anyway, yeah. I ain't no problem with whoever wins the award shows, Charlene, because these shows are all fixed and fake. You know, asking me about a so and so win, that don't even matter. It's on my phone. No, they just bounce off each other and they fisticuff. They playing. There's a lot of tension, but some of it's played for the cameras. Some of it's gonna be like the orange is the new black. There's a lot of stuff going on that ain't. I believe they're using. Excuse me. Well, see, first of all, brother, there ain't no such thing as a race car because you dealt with the hand that you deal with. And second of all, They're not using. There's no. The league's been around 30 years. So how is it using something? They've been around 30 years. I remember when it came out 96, 97. You don't just wake up one day and go, "Oh, we got a problem here in Houston." Women's college basketball is exciting. I'd make the notion that women's college basketball is more exciting than the men's, except for March Madness. I do like women's college basketball a lot. They've never gotten their karma, Charlene. You know what the real karma would be if there were more Michael Jacksons who bought publishing and catalog and owned something and they had to work with them? That would be the karma. There is no karma with that. And it's no karma because what they're crying about is artificial overhyped categories and typecast, which is entitlement. Are you gonna call somebody country? Well, black folks is country. You're born in the same country, so ain't you country too? Ain't Snoop Dogg country? No different than Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, my friend. It's always about black and white in America and promoting that. That's what you do. But you see, the problem is this. I love the Whispers. They're in my top 3 or 4 greatest vocal groups ever. Huge fan. We go with Russell Chamberlain and we go the NBA WNA. The NBA wasn't, when we got to Magic and Bird. But this, from the women's perspective, this is what they always hope for. This is what they want. They always want a black and white. We got to have the good cop, bad cop. We got to have the agenda. We got to have the agenda. It's like with the Rocky movies. Think about it. Music is universal, but it's the companies and the people that puts labels on people, and they're the ones who stop the progress. And it's up to the people to get it back. It's just like what you go for politics. It's up for the people to get it back. They took him out and they didn't want him. He was a black man with too much power. You seen the scene in Malcolm X. He owned his masters. He was probably flexing. And remember that particular time period. And then think about Medgar Evers in Memphis. Think about um, Fred Hampton, Chicago, Malcolm, Dr. King. I can go on. It's the same. Two different styles of coaching, but I'd say Gino Aroma was better, only because of the fact that he could keep on developing talent, and they really bought. Coach K caught a lot of breaks when they started winning because they weren't always winning. They caught a break with the UNLV. Yeah, country. What the cats got tones? And see, that's the problem right there. RL just hit it on it. What's wrong with Audra Wilson? Audra Wilson is as good as anything you got, but she don't sell tickets. See, that's what it is. It ain't nothing but a slave auction. It ain't nothing but a plantation. That's what it's about. It ain't even about. It's about and putting merch and where you are. Oh yeah, hip hop roots. If you listen to Snoop, if you listen to that does. And believe me, they put a hip hop beat on some country artists. Act like it's a gimmick, but they do everything. And I used to watch Hee Haw and Roy Clark, the guitarist, play with a lot of brothers who played blues. Okay, Buck Owens did too. Bill Withers by Womack could have been country, okay? Easily. Smokey Robinson talked about a long time ago. The Rolling Stones music sounded like country. Time is on my side. Yes, it is now. What was Bob Dylan doing? Think about it. Appreciate your words, Time. Thank you so much. If you listen to that, if you listen to How Can You Mend a Broken Heart, the Bee Gees, or Al Green stuff, Love and Happiness, you took that organ and you took that beat down. I mean, come on now. But we weren't talking about hard as first sound. We were just talking about the style. Because nobody's gonna say nothing. Because Tipsy was a one hit wonder. I had a buddy who used to talk about Jaquan, and Jaquan just got on a milk carton. We don't even remember where he went. Two different styles, but if I had to pick, I'd take Neil Diamond. Better songwriter and memorable song. The people don't decide what they want. It's the people that pull the strings decide, and they tell you what to watch. It's the people who decide who they give their money to and who they support in these streets. But what they put over as far as to watch, they dictate. The people don't have no choice on that. When MTV wanted to be more white and not have many black videos, who was deciding that? The powers that be. It wasn't until Walter Intercop went in there and said, "Hey, y'all got to put Michael Jackson on. We're gonna pull you all off." So no, the people don't have a say. The people don't really get to decide now, even with because they got all these these recyclable type of shows they put. They regurgitate stuff. They don't give you a lot of options now. Not only that, but the musical styling of country. Like I said, it's the R&B. It's in the base of the music. The blues. Listen to the Delta blues. That's that's country. It's just the title that they give that it's almost like a joke. And somebody took it and went to the juke joint and then slowed it down and made it appealable so you could kind of two-step to it. Texas two-step is really just like the electric slide. So I mean, all I'm saying is they found ways to water it down, make it into a mockery, which they do with everything. You do. You do. And that's a great quote because all it is an offshoot of one thing, but they got 99 ways to say one thing. And they make people come up with these titles and these optics. And then you sitting up there thinking like, oh, well, we got this what is it? Surf hop bop hip hop. And people come up with all these types of titles and they sit there and tell you this stuff with a straight face. When in actuality, just like when they said street rap and gangster rap, and I said it's either all or it ain't. I'm not talking about even about when you actually have to go to a game or not. Well, if you got the tickets and you had to, you're able to do, yeah, that. But again, he was marketable too, and he won. Those things do work in hand in hand. You see, and it does work. There are loyal people who will go pay see people, but you better be bringing something for people to want to go see you, and they pay that kind of money. I know exactly what you're saying, so I get it. But I think Dakota hit the George Carlin quote was the most honest one yet, the best. Because you're sitting there thinking like you're going to 7-Eleven, I'm gonna get the Slurpee red with the flicks. And basically it's all just a compartment of the same drink. It's just that it gives you the illusion that you got a lot to choose from. And that's the illusion that people like to throw at you. And they do it with everything now. Jump. Don't ask Motley Crue anything against Van Halen. They'll never win. Jump was considered almost revolutionary for its time with the way Eddie did that synthesized solo. Girls, Girls, Girls was catchy. I liked it. It was fun, but Van Halen stumps a mud hole through him. And Van Halen was a top tier band. Motley Crue was like third on a good day. I don't know. Most people I know wouldn't even dare ask that question because that's almost like comical, especially when you consider the talent level. And that's an insult to Van Halen, just saying. So Okay. But everybody's entitled to their opinion about that. It's just that it's no brainer for me. Jump. That's not even my favorite car song, and I think it was catchy, but that's not beating Jump. But they be second tier. I like Rick Ocasek. I like they synthesized work, but I don't like the cars like I did Van Halen. Shake It Up might have been a different story. Dance all night. Woo-hoo, doo-doo. They were quirky. They were quirky, but they still a tier below Van Halen though. They had some moments. I would say Birds of a Feather because like-minded tends to be more blended. Three as a crowd can mean different things for different situations, but the birds tend to be more closer. How for Teacher had a nice bass line, and I oh, so there's a story about that. Allegedly, Michael McDonald co-wrote that song and was supposed, and he didn't get his proper credit or something. So that's the story about How for Teacher. It was either that one or Panama, but I think it was How for Teacher. But I think it was Got it made, How for Teacher. I think it was the one with Michael McDonald was associated with the cut. Well, kind of like um, Trump and Epstein. See, when the birds of a feather, it's like you can see they syncopated. They dress alike, their mindsets alike, their vibes alike. But as two is a company, three is a crowd, they vibe a certain way. But there's things that flock thing is like, it's like syncopation. It's a whole different hit. So it all depends on how you look at it. I like Drive. Yeah, it was a nice slow cut. Who's gonna take you home? I like Drive a lot. They had some, like I said, they were cool. They were cool. Yeah, they were cool. It is related to circumstances. I just didn't. It was funny because I was listening to a slow radio once, and they played Drive, and I was kind of caught off guard. But I thought, yeah, I guess it is a slow cut now. Only when I hear it. It's not something that I break my neck, but I can still so hear it in my head. Because I used to listen to the Cars back in the day, and they were catchy, and I didn't think twice about nothing. So, excuse me. Again, we listen to music to just, we didn't get caught up. You just listen to music. So, anyway, yeah. So anyway, let's get some more questions back. That was a pretty good debate we had before we got into it. We got into the about Drive. Had a little moment. I'm definitely impressed with what's going on. Creep. But I do like Alice in Chains better though. I listen to more Alice in Chains, but I got to give it to Creep though. Okay, that's fair enough. I'm not gonna get into no long winded with that though. See the numbers have picked up, and it's good. So I will be back on tomorrow, not on Thursday. I don't think, unless of course I make a late run. It'd have to be late, so that's questionable. But tomorrow for sure, and probably Friday. Just saying ahead. Because nobody cares no more. The baseball All Star game was actually pretty good last week. That was actually pretty good. I like the Derby thing at the end, but I think the problem is that it depends on where you grew up. If you grew up in an era where you got to see great players, guys showing out, it meant so much. We got more multimedia, we got more ways of stuff now, and it depends on what sport we're talking about. The NFL has no Pro Bowl, which it's not a bad thing. It sucked, and I'll take Afro Man because I laughed with that one a lot. I got high moving me more. Red Light Special, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because that was a direct knock of Prince's international level. Babyface really had, and T Bars used to sound like a female version of Prince, and the way she hit the notes in the whole ride. And Babyface was definitely channeling Prince's slow jams, and even with the guitar solo part, the synth part, which was very so. That was definitely a direct link, but it sounded good. I think it was Chili. The background sounded good. The way they did the chorus. I'll tell you. Oh, he played bass. I wouldn't say he played bass. He was all right. He did spoken word. It was cool. You know, it was cool. Um, it worked for what they were doing because it was a Prince thing. If you listen to her voice, it was a female version of what he sounded like with the deep voice. I don't know if I would say that I thought she was a good singer though, because I only like his voice when it's falsetto. I wasn't that crazy about Prince's regular voice, but I liked his falsetto singing. That might not be fashionable to say, but I'm gonna say it's my form, it's my show. That's got nothing to do with LeBron James. He don't do the dunk contest. The All-Star game been whack for like 15, 20 years because they just didn't play no defense. That's not just a him, that's the whole because they weren't marketable. Nobody would have bought it. Left Eye was gonna do that record. She could rap a bit, T-Bar. They weren't marketable. Chili was a cute face, but she had no distinctive voice. T-Boz could sing a bit, but she's not interesting enough for people. I mean, like I said, that Prince thing with TLC was cool when they worked together. None of them had the it. If you're in a group, she's not gonna sell no records. She'll have a Michelle. She'll be like Kelly. She'll be like a somewhere between Kelly Rowland and Michelle Williams. Okay, if she went solo, she'd be in that Kelly Rowland, Michelle Williams pile, and more closer to Michelle Williams than Kelly Rowland. They don't have the it. When you're in a group, it can cover a lot of your shortcomings. You go on that stage solo, you better hit and you better have personality. You better have the right songs. And I don't see none of them to being able to have a solo career. I just don't. That got nothing to do with it. She wasn't I told you her vocals was like a female version of Prince's style. She didn't have look at who was around at the time she was out. Okay, let's stop right there when you say these things. Mary J. Blige was out. She a rough singer, but Mary had a career. Faith was out. Mariah was out. Where's T-Bar's gonna fit in that? Celine Dion was out. Where's she gonna fit in that? Tweet was a cute act, but no, she wasn't gonna overtake Missy. She was a limited act. She wasn't like Yolanda Adams. Yeah, Whitney was out. There was a lot. Yep. Yeah, well, but carry over into the '90s. But my point is, you're gonna be a third tier act at best. You better stay in the group. At least you'll be top dog. You know. He didn't always play defense in all the All Star games. Kobe didn't. There were All Star games that were weak in the OOs because the one when Jordan's last All Star game when Tracy McGrady threw that ball off the backboard, that wasn't no defense. So no, I don't want to hear that. The NBA All Star game been garbage for like 15, almost 20 years. It just got worse in the last 10, but it was going down 2003, 2004, 2005. And they just didn't allow all that scoring that they end up doing, but it was pretty bad though. Point is that when you got the Tony Braxtons, the Jan Jackson, Whitney Houston's, Celine Dion's, Mariah Carey's, Mary J. Blige's, Faith Evans, you had like 8, 9 deep. Where's T-Bar's gonna fit in that? That's the point I was trying to say. And you might come up with a nice, cute hit song. Are you gonna match with Tamia? And Tamia's like second, third tier. You gonna match with Shantae Moore, second, third tier. Where you gonna fit in? So that's the point I'm trying to say. It ain't as easy as it seems. So, so when you watch someone in a band, right, like Lionel Richie with the Commodores, you can tell who's got the it. That's not going to break the. She wasn't going to go solo. Doing a song on the soundtrack. Sean Stockton from Boys to Men did a solo. Yeah, it would be good for All Star game. I'd welcome it. Should be in the NBA too. If you shoot long enough, why not? They pushing the agenda anyway. Um, she did it as a one off to see if there was any buzz. Sean Stockton did it too for boy. He was in the sound that music thing. Ain't no solo career. Yeah, you can do a song. Wanye did a solo. Was he a solo career artist for Boys and Men? No. But anyway, back to the question about a band. I'd say Casey and JoJo. I mean, you could debate, but Devontae carried all the cards with the music, but it's hard to say. I'd say Casey. But again, it's tough to make a solo career when you're in a band. It's tough to make a solo career when you're in a band because you got to have something distinctive. You got to see when you're going to go solo, you got to make sure that you can go solo where people are going to say, "Okay, we get behind you." Well, hello, that's all you ever come out without the blue. You never say what's going on, how you doing. That's all you got. Um, a stereotype. I wish you had a more formal way of conversation, but this is what I get. So we were having a good discussion in here too. So, but anyway, Dakota, yeah, 4 point shoots or shots are. I would welcome that. I'd welcome that. I would welcome that. I think where people get bad wherever they are in the world, because in the states you got to have the money to get it. So make it make sense. Phil Collins went solo. Peter Gabriel went solo. They have a kernel of truth. There's certain things that we just don't like to admit, but they have a kernel of truth. Um, Lennon and McCartney went true. Stereotypes depends on what we're talking about. I mean, there are truths in them, but then there's some things that are debatable in them. But there's a grain in there. Yeah, with Wham, Sting with the Police. So the when white acts do it though, they got more money sponsored to them. Black acts, they hoping to hit that formula. There's a difference. Okay. I never heard anyone say they would Wham, but okay, I'll take that. Yeah. They're not accurate. Nope, they're not. Sometimes people say stuff and they leave it kind of spotty. So it all depends on where we're going with that. But right rock acts going solo, it depends on who we're talking about. I think what the rock acts, because Rod Stewart left the band. He went solo. Mick Jagger couldn't get a solo career. Duran Duran never tried it. It wouldn't have really worked with Simon Le Bon. It depends. I'm Soundgarden all the way. Chris Cornell was one of my favorite vocalists. That's not even for discussion. I always thought I was called them Sinking Park. I just never really cared for them. I thought they were like a broke attempt at the Beastie Boys trying to Burby skaterboard pop hip hop. I just didn't feel them. But they sold a lot of records though. KD can't get it done with the solo act either. Are you talking about Kevin Durant? Are we because we talking music and sports, that's a whole different conglomerate. I think they suck. And I always thought Fred Durst was like like a troll. I was like some Pauly Shore, like some prank. But that stuff hit though. Just like the offspring. Cause some of that stuff kind of costs like gimmick about it. We have to go with Wally World only because they have a bit more going for them. For instance, if I bought a bike from both places, I think Walmart would hold. I got better exercise equipment. Actually, most of my stuff I got that kind of work was better at Walmart. Target had cheaper stuff, but sometimes that stuff was lame and certain things just didn't work. I like the smell of Target better, but I like the Walmart vibe better. So, but that's a strange question though, because I don't really, but Walmart's to their credit, they made themselves into the mall of Middle America. So they were able to compartmentalize better. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, Walmart had some things I liked, but they were raggedy. But Target was hardy, so take your pick. I don't know. Anyway, but what I was saying though, rock bands, I think a lot of it because being a front man. They didn't have them where I live. They tried a superstore and the plan wouldn't let it. So, and the fruit was horrible. I remember I went there in 2014 to the store and asked them about fruit, and this African brother worked there laughed at me like I said something. It was crazy. Walmart had some janky situations. They got a good deal on some stuff. You can definitely rack up. That's why I give them the edge. I don't eat meat, so it doesn't pertain to me. Because of the groove, I'm gonna go with "You Know How to Love Me." I love them both. Two different styles of songs, but "You Know How to Love Me" will get me going. "Good Love" is a song that I love, but "You Know How to Love Me," I can Phyllis Hyman put me in a certain mood. You can wear what you want to wear. I don't care. If you got stanky feet, white socks. Well, sometimes you want to wear your mama, so they had like those little ankle shoe socks. They were like little about cut. I won't take because that's how you get gout, and then you end up situation where you clog your arteries and your joints. And I ain't no, I don't miss none of that stuff. Stuff stank, and it don't smell right, and it don't feel right. It's a matter of choice and taste, but I'm telling you, a lot of that stuff, no. That's why I dance to it. But it is tough to beat a needle when you come across, but it would take a Phyllis Hyman type of song since you mentioned those two. I wear my socks with my Crocs and I feel comfortable, but my socks don't get all bunched up in their areas. So it all depends on what you're into. Anita Baker. Because I like Regina Bell a lot, but Angel was the first two records was my favorite. Anita before she got, you know, before she got the formula. No, I don't even talk about it because I already know. you know, that stuff ain't even fit for human consumption. And all it takes is one of those E. colas or something to go out and then you just be all messed up. I ain't no, I don't miss none of that. You know, I'm not doing it because I don't eat that. You're not watch my videos. I don't talk about soul food. I talk about three of those food. I talk about Chinese, Italian, and Mexican. I don't even know if I would rank them because the healthier ones for me would be the Chinese one and the Mexican one because I would do it vegetarian style. Well, none, none. When I was a kid, when I lived in the past life, yes, I would never go back to that. I don't miss none of it, and I wouldn't go back. And if I had the options that I have now, I never would have ate that stuff. That's the facts. They got way more better options the last 15 years. Oh, difference. Well, she would not have liked me because I wear socks wherever I go. I don't like my feet to be all. I don't like my feet to be open unless I'm relaxing. No, it's just that the system be feeling different and the smell of food. And sometimes I just had situations where I sat there and I just like, oh, that stuff just disgusts me. So that was it. And I don't miss it. I know that's right. I don't, no, when mentally, I love lettuce. I'm not most people. Because I mean, again, it's a choice and you can change. So there you go. And I can respect people's choices, and I hope they respect mine because I mean that's just the facts. Got into a point where I didn't want it, and that's what happened. So you know, I sleep well and I feel well, and I exercise and take care of myself. So I don't need it. But for people who do, I did all that too. We were guilty of that growing up. My grandma used to say, "Don't eat with your eye, your eyes big in your stomach." And then you to eat all that food, and then that's what happens. So had all that growing up. Had that stuff in a mason jar too. No, but I lots of salads. I had a watermelon salad with grapes and onions. It's one of ours because it was plantation food. Again, bless their souls. I'm not them. And some people are good with it. It's all depends on the person. I'm not here to when you say stuff you're trying to bait, you should either respect someone's choice or take call it a day. And I don't miss it, so it's not swaying me. I can respect what other people choose to put in their bodies. I know what I don't want in mine, and I know what don't smell right for me and don't feel right. So, you know, that's all I'm gonna say about that. But you got to do what works for you. You know, I'm not gonna keep talking about something that I already addressed. So, bless your grandparents and everything, but it doesn't pertain to me. I never was into that at all. They wanted messing up my clothing, didn't want to mess it up my looks, and I didn't want to have to be coughing in hell. I had secondhand smoke. I had to deal with um, that remittance of that being passed hereditary. So I no, it didn't appeal to me. I used to hate going to the clubs when you smell like a big old ashtray. So it never appealed to me. Those smokers are cool though. When people know how to hold a cigarette a certain way, it looks cool. But that's not my MO. Just not into that sort of thing. And you could say I'm not part of peer pressure. I make a lot of videos, you just don't watch my videos. They are plenty. I got a video right now about Bill Cosby talking about Malcolm Jamal Warner, and the reflections is out. Oh, I know. Yeah, but it's addictive. My grandparents went through it, emphysema, all that, and it was a fashionable thing. It was the Hollywood thing. It was chic. It kept the stress down. But those sticks were the worst drugs you could ever have. The Surgeon General that was under Bill Clinton back in the '90s, she came out and said that that must have been a slave master gave her because it was, it's addictive. Yep, and I stay away from all of it. I'm not trolling, so nope. Why would I? Yeah, well, again, it was the current, and as I said, um, it was unfortunately it was his time. It's sad. It's sad. Why don't you ask Tom? What's that question? Well, my first love was baseball. So that was probably my most funnest. But then basketball and football were fun too. So one of them three. No, because when I played ball, we didn't really push the three like that. So, and there's nothing associated with me with Skip Bayless. I'm not obnoxious. You might not like some of the things I say. I'm not obnoxious though. Yeah, Pele was playing. Pele was the truth too. Pele was like the Ali of soccer. I was a bad dude. The New York Cosmos when he came over, that was a sensation. He was. That's not what it was. It's just one of those um, situations where he went to die. And it's not even about how good you can swim. Sometimes you just catch a wave that just gets you. You know, it's not even about how good a swimmer you are. It just caught him. Well, Dakota, yeah, that came early teenage years for sure. Pen in the pad and go to the mall back in the day. They used to go to the mall. It's like a combination. It's like a hybrid. If you're in between, then it comes and get you. But you end up you couldn't breathe. So either way you look at it, sad situation. And we lost a good dude. So that's what ends up happening. Sad to say. Glad the poll is doing real good. Most of the people are feeling he was a good talent. So that's a good thing. Appreciate Bundes taking the poll. Yeah, you got to. I don't think it was. I don't assume it was. I disagree because I wasn't that familiar. I wasn't that big on Nipsey, but I respected him. The Aaliyah thing felt suspect as all get out, still does. The COVID thing caught everybody off guard because that was before life as we knew was about to change before COVID hit. So that was they hit all differently. I liked the Cosby Show. I just didn't like the fact that it was pushed because of the agendas, but I thought it was a good, strong show. I thought it was for a black man, upper middle class. It's just that I liked the other shows that I had saw, but you know, I thought the show was good. They had chemistry, and it was one of the few shows at the time that was showing upward black mobility with some sophistication. I will give it that because none of the other shows really did that. They were down on their luck or they were hood based, or something that they was trying to fit a certain stereotype. Whereas that was the one of the few shows that actually welcome an upward mobility. Well, being on water is like being in front of a bear. You don't show your fear, but again, the currents. Yeah, it's just a matter of choice. That's all. It's all a matter of choice and preference. He was picked for that role because of that. That's why Darius McElroy, they saw formula. Charlie and I already had a discussion. Hollywood is formula driven, ain't nothing by accident. And they find characteristics that can sell said product. That's why Urkel, Jaleel White was kind of like a Gary Coleman, a J.J. Walker, and a Will Smith. They do these things. So there's gonna be a lot of DD stuff out there. Okay, let's get some more questions going. Let's keep it going while we got it good. See what I got. Mhm. I don't know why that remark. So I don't like that remark. Don't say anything about her, please. Refrain from that. Yeah, but I think that he had the best situation as a post Cosby. They did pretty good, but I think Malcolm had the best side post career of the kids. Of the kids, I was more of a Good Times fan. I was more of a Jeffersons fan, but I will give Cosby the props for the upward mobility, and it was different, but it had its place. And I'm not going to get into a debate about because it's a very tough time. It's what I prefer, but you know, I disagree. If you're a teenager, black, and you're on a TV show, of course you're gonna, especially with Bill Cosby. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Yep, I agree with that time. So first of all, Tempest Bloods. Let me tell you a story about Tempest. There was an episode where she got a jacket. Prince had the sign of the Times movie sound. He did the jean jacket with the peace sign. She got to wear the jacket on the he personally donated to her. Okay. You're famous. You got Stevie Wonder coming on your set, BB King, you're famous. Okay. Wasn't just like some old, yeah. No, you're being ridiculous now. That's not even funny. I think that they got a good. Well, Lisa Bonet. I'll give it a whole opinion. We'll talk about Lisa. She married Lenny. She did the movie with De Niro and did the Rolling Stone cover, and then she shot the Tony video stuff. I think that when they got grown, things weren't as romanticized. I think they wasn't as romanticized. So I think, yeah, if we use that, because they got a great windful of what it would have been like. They were on the show for 8 years, so it's like Frank Thomas. Come on now, stop. I like some of his stuff, but he was so derivative of everybody, and he was so mediocre. But he has a couple of things that I like. He's one of those cats because he tries. Mediocrity, but tries. He tries. There's a few things I like he's done. But he definitely has the rock star persona. No make no mistake about it. The guy's got the most drip of any artist that's out now. You can't out drip Lenny. He played a role better than anybody. AC/DC better. Got more out of their music. Guns N' Roses could have been, should have been, but AC/DC got more out of their music. I would say trolling about Harold Baines. Harold Baines was a good player. Frank Thomas was a great player. Okay. And just because Harold Baines got in the Hall of Fame, he was not better than Frank Thomas. It's just that Frank Thomas's diva ways and his antics kind of messed him up, but it's no. Frank Thomas is better. Well, yeah, they have more energy. I did like GNR for a moment, but the energy came and went. They got, it got indulgent and it was over before it started. But I liked AC/DC. I'm not going to answer that. I wish we had more adult-based conversations because you start asking stuff that's just not something that I would really even dignify. So I have. Frank Thomas was a great player, a great hitter. We're talking about more closer to the Tony Gwynn, George Brett player. Harold Baines got a token MVP because they don't want to put Bonds and Clemens and those guys in. There's nothing token about Frank. I don't like Frank Thomas personally because I think he corny and that's Say Alice and all that garbage. But as a player, it's not even close. Yep. Not for me, it's not. And I just start for, I go by, you know, Harold Baines didn't, he's played a long time, but he was never in Frank Thomas's class. Ah, but there might be a woman who wants to be with someone that looks like Warren Sapp. So see, again, you got to think about what you say. They don't look as good as the Milwaukee Brewers, though. That's the hottest team going right now. Milwaukee's looking good. They spanked the Dodgers and they spanked the Mariners last night, and they looking pretty good. I mean, I'm not giving them a lot of hope coming out the NL Central, but we never know. Cal Ripken, ain't nobody gonna put Harold Baines with the tier level he's with. Stop putting him up against people that are household names that are legendary players. Okay. Now I said the Brewers got something, but I don't know. But they did spank the Dodgers this weekend, so whatever that counts for, I don't know. But they might be on it this year. I don't know. The NL Central needs to make a statement, so you never know. We'll see. See, I gotta think of second tier guys, okay? So neither one of them. Neither one. Cat cusses too much, and his philosophy of who he wants about people is interesting. I just don't find him funny. His perm is funny, but he ain't funny to me. He cursed too much. I don't really find much in him. Chappelle, the irony of the stuff that he tells, I don't find either one of them funny. But if I had to pick who was better of the two, it's Chappelle or the Blowout. But that's not saying much though. And I don't think that, Cat is one of those guys, the irony of that, he's got some pieces and he's got small man complex and stuff. It turns out to be true, but I don't find him funny per se. Chappelle doesn't really make me laugh either, but he has an irony about him. You're not winning this argument, so stop. You want to put Harold Baines up against um now this is more like it because this is all second tier guys right here. Mitch Richmond's gonna start. And then I gotta say Michael Finley, only because Eddie Jones didn't finish what he started. The Lakers, he always one of those guys. Uh, it's not just about them dissing them. I just don't find them funny though. They just don't really move me. You know, Chris Rock back in '98 was close to first tier, but now he's third tier. He can't sell no movies, and he just been stale. That's what I'm talking about. That's why he got to fall off the list. At least with Michael Finley, he was consistent. Eddie should have been better than both of them, though. He should have been. Because Rich could score. Eddie gave you 17, almost 20. And he was starting in front of Kobe, and he was an all-star. But he didn't stay consistent. And then he kind of became one of those guys that middle of the road. Town, I liked his speed and his athletic, but he just faded. And I don't know why, I don't know what happened. He just didn't have the drive. That's all. But see, Dakota, that's a good point right there with the Eddie Jones, Mitch, and Finley. Second tier guys. That's why I look at Harold Baines in baseball. Second tier dude. Good, but not great. Not when I put him up against guys that are first ballot Hall of Famers. And I'm sitting there going like, yeah, that dude. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Not answering personal questions so that you're and I don't know you and you a dude. So we don't do stuff like that here. Don't do stuff like that here. We stick to entertainment, politics, stuff like that. This ain't OnlyFans. So, and this is not a roast either. So we don't do that sort of thing. Chris Rock was a guy who had a chance to be first, but for me, he's a third tier comedian. And when you watch that whole thing at the Oscars with him and Will Smith, you see he looks like a faded, wounded has been. Now he's doing them what? Those gambling advertisements. He should be a lot further along in his career than that. He never had, and listen, I'm gonna say it like this: he's funnier than Kevin Hart, but he never blew up. That's not even about who defended Michael Jackson. You ask me who's funny, I just go by what I see as funny. I like Godfrey's impersonations, but he's Tubi time. Chris Tucker had the real career. Chris Rock is petty. Yeah, 98, 97, 98, he could do no wrong. 97, 98, he could do no wrong. And they could never get a hit movie on him. You know, they could never get him to another level. So he had some punchlines and he had moments. He had the TV show on HBO. He had the book, but he didn't have the mojo. That's why a lot of these cats came and left him in the dust. I am going to start Anton Walker. I think I'll go in that order. That's not hard for me because Mashburn is underrated. He was tough. Big Dog growled a lot, but it never got the full range out of him. At least Twan, I got something out of him. So I'm going, yeah, that's not what I'm going. He had big cultural moments, but he didn't reach his full apex. He should have been bigger. See, you're making my point where I said third tier. You were bigger than Penny and you didn't capitalize. Couldn't make a hit movie. Had a TV show, had a book, had he was the he but Chris Tucker had the career. and Eddie was still doing Eddie and Mark Lawrence. He never joined and then Steve Harvey, Cedric, Bernie Mac. Mashburn was bad, physical and nice mid range. That's not hard for me. Mad Dog, I mean, big. Robinson was tough. He could score, but he didn't really go nowhere. It just didn't really go to another level. But Twan, yeah, Twan was with Pierce. People forget that they were good together. No, it's by keeping himself in shape. I mean, gambling, but he can keep himself in shape. Not gonna answer that one either. You don't read the other questions that we have being asked, so I, you know, no, he became a sidekick player. His whole thing became kind of like fitting in. It was good, but it wasn't Eddie Murphy or Richard Pryor. Come on now, he had some funny lines. Uh, Body weight, drunk too much, party too much, mess with 304s, and his money went funny, and he got high on the hog. And the problem was is that when he couldn't make that money back, then he just kind of fell by the wayside. That's what happened to him. I used to love doing the shimmy on the court. I like, but for me, it's gonna be Vince Carter. I'm still, him, Dominique, Dr. J. Those are my trilogy. And David Thompson would get some mad no too. They come to mind. Neek was one of my the tomahawk and Dr. J's creativity, still the most amazing thing I ever seen in the air with creativity. Vince forever with that night in Oakland. He just was limited by it. He never really added nothing to his game, and he's ashamed too. And in Dakota, that's what I mean by second tier, because that guy had the goods to be one of the greatest, and he basically got a second tier. Jordan didn't. I like his in game, his leg motion, but those other guys moved me more. I said Vince Carter, Dominique, David Thomas, Julius Erving. Those are my top four, and then I get to Jordan because Neek's tomahawks was nasty. David Thompson, because Sky and Air and Julius Erving's creativity. Jordan's leg coordination there was incredible, but I think those other guys moved me more as dunkers. I like Jordan's in game dunks better though. That's why. That's more as opposed to just straight dunking. Those guys for straight dunking, I got him over Jordan, and I still take Dr. J over Jordan's dunking. His creativity, what he could do. That was a sick dunk. That was a sick dunk. That was a sick dunk. I don't know if I'd say the best individual dunk I've ever seen, but it was sick. Tomahawk by Wilkins was strong. Sean Kemp's Rainman Flex was nasty. I don't know because people appear to be what they appear to be, and I can't say. It wasn't a bad dunk by Dwight. It wasn't bad. It's just that it became part of his gimmick while people, it's a problem to trade to trail. Well, his in-game dunk on that 7-foot guy was still sick. Gerald Ryde was a good player. He had good talent. He just didn't have the work ethic. If I lose people on this one, it's because my volume. I'm only going. I got 7 more minutes before I gotta go. My favorite in-game dunker probably might be Sean Kemp. I think his dunking was sick.
He's up there though. Yep. Vince Carter, because Vince did show leadership qualities. He did. I mean, he was in Toronto when you couldn't even. Toronto was like being in Saudi Arabia, and he put Toronto on the map. Chris Webber's always been a guy that kind of fit in. You would duck it too, because Dr. J had crazy hang time. Tell you when Dr. J got up, you just had to sit there and all. Yeah, it does. Especially with the athleticism, you got to give up. It's a lot of work. He could get up. I like Steve Franchise. He just didn't add to his game. That's all. Other things got in the way. Cat had a nice little game too. Should have been like there with Iverson too. I didn't hear about that story. Yeah. It's just that again, I just didn't think that he got everything he could have gotten out what he had. Should have had a better career. Yeah, well, I'm only gonna be on for a couple minutes because I've been on for 2 hours because that's my cue. About I'll be back on tomorrow. These things do get funny when you the timing, but I've been on for a moment though. I think about 32 minutes. I don't know. Depends on who you're talking about, which player you're talking about. There's some players that gave it their all, some players they didn't. I don't know. I again, there's a lot of stuff that goes on with relationships that it's hard to say. Maybe he felt something wasn't worth it. Mm, I have to shrug my shoulders. I don't know. Yeah, he was bad down at the Rucker. He was must see TV in person. Rayford was nice, but he was gimmicky. And the New York Cats come into the league and they do the and one and the roll. And it's kind of like what it was kind of like RC said above. They can play at a professional level and roll a level, but the big things. I like the big three at first, but the problem is that it wears itself thin because some of those guys, I like it when it's tailor made for guys that you wonder what if or guys you ain't seen, not for guys that got cut. Mm-mm. Now, Steve Francis falls into that second tier. It's like what I was talking about earlier. Because at worst, he'd have had a second tier career. At worst, he had that kind of talent, but he just didn't. We'll never know. He should have been like almost a Calvin Murphy type for his era. Now, I ain't really talking about the big three. The big three is about corporate now. Yeah, well, that's the problem. And you hoping that he has like retired players. You want to see Antoine Walker. You'd want to see a Paul Pierce maybe doing something. You'd want to see a guys, you know, that not some Buster, not some Adam Morrison type. You know, but Cube is keeping an open door. That's the plan. So now, if he got three cats from the YMCA rec league against three former NBA players and did a 3-on-3 like that, so you think you could beat them, that would be compelling TV. Find yourself three cats from around the way against three former NBA players. Especially now the cats got to shoot threes all the time. So, well, Brady worked on his game. That's the thing. That's their choice, but I would be kind of like the NBA guys don't dunk that much now. They shoot threes. I'd much rather watch the women. At least they drive to the hole. How embarrassing to see guys with a 4-on-1 throwing the ball back, shooting threes, and then missing, and the one guy that's back ends up getting a rebound and throws the ball down the other end. That's bad basketball. Nobody want to go to Vancouver. Mahalia Jackson. Come on now. Mama Thornton is bad, but Mahalia Jackson is like the wreath of gospel. I mean, come on now. Mahalia Jackson carries crazy weight. I had one of her box sets. Mind blowing. I listened to that thing 30 plus years ago. Mind blowing. Nobody, because cats used to make faces where they didn't want to go. Now, I'd rather watch women's basketball that didn't dunk than to watch the cats because the cats don't play basketball. They go on 3-on-1s. I saw Al Horford do it. Big old 7-footer, fading back, shooting 20-foot shots. Yeah. It's probably to me it's Little Kim. Missy raps real fast and she got an interesting cadence. Foxy ain't bad. She's good for hook work. She ain't bad. Nikki, if she didn't play that old stupid role, could actually been a decent rapper. But I'm taking Little Kim out there. But Missy more of a producer, but she got some cadence that I like. She was amazing. Mahalia Jackson could sing. And I'm gonna go in 1 minute. I'm gonna go in 1 minute, just letting you guys know so nobody don't get alarmed. And I will put this show up in about a couple weeks though. Yeah, I just don't like the cadence of what she do. She ain't a bad MC, but it just feels dean. It seems like a waste, something now. Because it's not, because unless it's somebody like Slick Rick who could rap. I didn't like Dizzy Rascal. I think it's because of the enunciation and the words, and it just doesn't hit with the flow. And I'm always gonna be biased about American MCs and music for that because the flow cadence just hit different. It just hits different. But Slick Rick was one of the baddest rappers ever. He came from the UK. Dana Dane was cool too, but Slick Rick, storyteller, he rap like Slick Rick. Slick Rick could rap. Well, MC Light's one of the baddest female rappers ever. Eve was a decent one. Eve was decent. Pitbull in the skirt. She wasn't bad. I think if she put more, I think if she didn't have 15 other things, peace out TRC because I'm gonna go. If she didn't have 15 other things going on in her career, could have been one of the best because she had a decent skill set. But MC Light's probably my favorite female rapper. And Lil Kim got a nice flow too. All right, so I will be back tomorrow. Appreciate everyone that came through. Thanks for taking time to take the poll. It's a very heavy time with Malcolm Jamal Warner, so I appreciate everybody's understanding. I like Latifah. I just think that she had to work on the craft to be an all time great. I think she was good. Good. She could flow. I know Apache was her ghostwriter. She dabbled in singing and moving, and she's a good all around entertainer. All good, strong all around. Yo Yo was nice. Her and Ice Cube, but again, she didn't really stay with it, and her solo career didn't match it. That's the only problem. MC Light got more out of hers. That's the only problem because Yo Yo could have been one of the top two to three. Latifah could have been too. That's the only problem. They just didn't get for different reasons. For different reasons. She is. I love her eyes. Appreciate you too. Thank you. Thank you always. I'll be back tomorrow too. Yeah, because she and Ice Cube were no joke together. They were the original Bonnie Clyde on wax. I remember the first album, American One, and they had that cold, slick flow back and forth. She just never got the right material. She could bust freestyle. She was nice with it. Just never got the right word. Sometimes that happens to some people. They don't have you know, you got some talent, but if you don't get the right pieces, it's like athletes. If I don't put the right teammate, the right system with you, we never get the best of you. We get increments. We get a part of you. And that's what happened with Yo Yo, Latifah. Mm-hmm. So, all right, I'm outie. We'll be back tomorrow. Appreciate everybody. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke, stay free. Thank you all. Peace.